Hi friends, welcome back. In this episode, I'll show you how to get from this to this. Have you noticed how the snake takes an entire character in text mode, which is a lot taller than wider? This means that also when we move on the vertical axis, it will actually move a lot faster than on the horizontal axis. Well, there is something we can do about this, and namely, we're going to split one of those tall characters in text mode into two halves, an upper and a lower, and we're going to basically double the vertical resolution of our text screen. I coded this off screen, but I will show you the code and explain how I did it. This is an interesting problem to solve. Basically, you have an entire character that you want to split in upper and lower half, and you want to colorize them in two different colors. That's something you can do with block characters. For example, you can use this upper half block and a lower half block. Of course, you can use a full block if your entire character is in the same color. If I want to paint the upper half of a character in a certain color and the lower half in a different color, for example, I would paint the upper half block using the text color, and I would use the background color for the other half. For example, here, this is the line of text, and I'm painting half of it in a certain color, half of it in a different color. So I can do one of the two. I can paint the upper half block in text color, and the lower half I basically just set it to background color, or the other way around. I can paint the lower block character in the snake color, and the upper half I will leave it in the background color. There are three places in the game when I need to use this technique: when I paint the obstacles, when I paint the head of the snake, and when I paint the tail of the snake to remove basically the traces of the body. The easiest to paint is the obstacle. This is the method for doing that. And what it basically does is setting the color to the color of the obstacle, which I called salmon red. And then it's going through all the positions in the body of that obstacle. And it takes the X and Y positions. Now, depending on whether Y is an odd or even number, I need to paint different parts of that block, the upper half or the lower half. However, we need to check if there is any other obstacle in the other half of the character. So basically, if I am going to paint an odd piece of obstacle, then I need to check if the lower position, so under that character, is it also an obstacle? Basically, is the same obstacle there? Then I need to paint a full block. Full block is this character, Unicode 2588. If, however, there is nothing under the current position, then I'm only going to paint an upper half character block. And very similarly, if the position where I'm at is even, then I have to look above me. Is something above it? That's why I'm doing y minus 1. If there is also position occupied there by the same obstacle, then paint out a full block. Otherwise, only paint out the lower half character block. That logic basically takes care of this vertical line, for example, where here we have only half a character which is painted, and here we have a full block which is painted. Then things get a bit interesting when I need to paint the body of the snake. As I've shown you before, this here is one character which needs to be split in two different colors. So the code for that is the environment class. When I'm painting the snake, I need to do a couple of extra checks. I need to see where the head is, what is the list of positions for the body. Take again the X and Y of the head of the snake. If it's an odd line, so I'm basically on the upper part of a character, then I need to check also to see what is on the next half of that character. So that is position Y plus 1. and I do the following checks. If the body of the snake contains the lower position, so the lower half of the character, then I need to paint out a full block. This is basically like this. This is basically a full block. So the character is occupied, both the upper half and the lower half are occupied by the body of the snake. Otherwise, if there's an obstacle at the lower position, then I need to paint a two-color character. So upper part will be the snake, lower part will be the obstacle. So the way I do this, I set the background to the salmon red background, which is the obstacle color, and I'm going to paint an upper half. So upper half will be basically the snake in the color of the text, and then the lower part will be empty, but it will be the background color that we see through, and that will be the obstacle. Otherwise, if there's nothing below the snake, we just paint out an upper half block, which is basically just the snake taking space, the upper half of the character block. And then we do exactly the same if the line where we paint the snake is on the, it's an even line, so that means it's on the lower side of a text character. Then we're going to look at the position above it. Is there a snake also in the above position? So the body contains the upper, then print out a full block. Otherwise, is there an obstacle at the upper position? Then we need to do the trick with two colors. So we paint the lower half of this character as the body of the snake, and the upper half will be basically the see-through background, which is in the color of the obstacle. Otherwise, we just paint normally the snake, which takes half the character. And finally, once we have the S, the X, and the Y, then we just paint out the S, the actual string that we need to paint out, in the text color of bright yellow. That is the snake. And once we do this, we set back the background color to whatever background color is in general in the game. So that is blue. Let's see how is it here. So that's a character. This is snake on the upper half, nothing on the lower half. This is a full character here of the snake on the top and lower halves. And here we have the two colors. The upper part is a background in the color of the obstacle, and the lower part is the yellow, which is the snake itself. Finally, the last method is paint remove. Basically, this takes the tail of the snake and removes it. But again, we need to make sure how we remove it, because we don't want to just output an empty space, because that would actually accidentally delete some of the obstacles. We need to just be aware of, again, what is above and below our current position that we want to erase from the snake. Exactly same story. If the position is odd, then we are on the upper half of the character. Then we need to check what is on the lower side. Is it still the snake body at the lower side? Then we're going to simply output the lower, because we want to remove the upper half. If there's an obstacle at the lower, then we output the obstacle, but in the salmon red, which is the color of the obstacle. And similarly, for even lines, we do exactly the same, only that we look for the above position. Finally, we output the string that we figured out at a certain position. What is now interesting to note is that our environment has double the Y resolution. That's why in the snake game, when we initialize the environment, we take 2 times the max screen Y resolution when we create the actual size of the screen, of the canvas. That's why now when we're going to actually output characters, we're going to divide the y by 2. And lastly, what makes it a bit more interesting is how we deal with food. The characters for the food are full characters. So that means I can approach a food character from the lower half, or I can approach it from the upper half. For example, here I was just above it. Now I will approach it from the lower half, and I need to be able to hit it. So I need to be able to detect the location of the food, whether I go into it with a snake from the upper half, or if I go into the food from the lower half. This is done in the food class. I had to make a slight modification here and make the food actually not a single position body, but actually a 2-position body. So I chose to use a list for this, and I made position the list of positions, and it always has an upper half and the lower half. That's why the array is always 2. I initialize the food in the constructor with the upper position and a lower position, and then when I just paint that food item, I'm going to use the first position to get the values from. So that's the x from the first item in the position array and the y divided by 2. Now if we print out a food item on the screen, it actually takes 2 rows. So the upper half will be the odd number of the row, and the lower half will be the even number of the row. So what we want to do is take the lower part, which is even. Let's say it's on position 1 and 2. The first line is 1 and 2. Then the second one is 2, and we need to divide it by 2. So then we get actually the real screen line, which is 1. One other thing I would like to show you is that I parameterized the lines on the screen, the obstacles. So when we resize the window of the terminal, the actual environment is also resized. This time it looks like this. And if I take the window and I just resize it and rerun the program, now the environment has resized also. Let me do that again. See? Just like that. So the way I did this is in the environment, I basically parameterized all the lines that are created as obstacles, and I do them as percentages of the maximum row and maximum column that we have in the canvas. Okay, folks, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. And as usual, if you find this kind of content interesting, give it a like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell so you get a notification next time I upload. Until then, bye bye!